Buddham sharanam gacchami.
Buddham sharanam gacchami.
Buddham sharanam gacchami. Dhammam sharanam gacchami.
Dhammam sharanam gacchami.
Dhammam sharanam gacchami. Sangham sharanam gacchami.
Sangham sharanam gacchami.
Sangham sharanam gacchami. Buddham sharanam gacchami. Dhammam sharanam gacchami. Sangham sharanam gacchami.
Buddham sharanam gacchami. Dhammam sharanam gacchami. Sangham sharanam gacchami. Buddham sharanam gacchami. Dhammam sharanam gacchami. Sangham sharanam gacchami.
Ladalame Juvenye, Shavni Bemo Laduchin, Pomakunya, Doma Yumla Chanze Lo, Umdare Tudare Dureso, Umdare Tudare Dureso, Umdare Tudare Dureso, Umdare Tudare Dureso, Umdare Tudare Dureso. Umdare Tudare Dureso, 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 Umdare Tudare Dureso. Umdare Tudare Dureso, Umdare Tudare Dureso, Umdare Tudare Dureso, Umdare Dureso, Umdare Tudare Dureso, Umdare Tudare Dureso, Umdare Tudare Dureso. Umdare Tudare Dureso, 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 Umdare Tudare Dureso. Umdare Tudare Dureso, 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 Umdare Tudare Dureso. Umdare Tudare Dureso, 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 Umdare Tudare Dureso. Umdare Tudare Dureso, 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 Umdare Tudare Dureso. Umdare Tudare Dureso, 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 Umdare Tudare Dureso. Umdare Tudare Dureso, 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 Umdare Tudare Dureso. Umdare Tudare Dureso, 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 Umdare Tudare Dureso. Umdare Tudare Dureso, 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 Umdare Tudare Dureso. Umdare Tudare Dureso, 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 Umdare Tudare Dureso. Umdare Tudare Dureso, Umdare Tudare Dureso, Gevandi Yuto da Amadoma Tukyonen Rova Chikyamale De Salang Gubarasho. Okay, Master Shantideva said that this precious human life with leisure and endowment is more precious than the precious gem. And it is only this time that we found this precious human life. It's very difficult to find, but easily perishable, just like lightning in the sky. Therefore, it is important to think about this process and care less much about the meaningless worldly activities, and day and night extract the meaning of this precious human life. The fact that this life is very precious can be easily found if we compare our life with many other animals, birds, and so forth. As I mentioned many times earlier, that this human life we call precious human life is primarily because of this human brain and human intelligence. But this brain and intelligence itself is just a potential, a capacity. But what is important is where are we going to use this human brain and human intelligence? Many a times, unfortunately, we use this human intelligence for destruction, for killing, for dividing, for creating miserable life. So therefore, it is high time, whether you believe in any particular religion or not, but it is high time to use this human intelligence in the positive direction so that one's own life will be happy and others' life will be happy. And as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to taking the meaning of human life, if we are able to live a long, healthy life, of course, it is wonderful. But whatever be the span of our life, it is important to use it in the most useful and constructive way. Not only the preciousness of human life and the rarity of it to find is explained in Buddhism, but even the scientists living these days, they say that out of millions, to produce this human life, it is not a coincidence. Many needed causes and conditions must come together. So only those people who manage to get these causes and conditions are able to be born as a human life. So it's even from scientific point of view, it is a very rare opportunity, rare chance. So having this wonderful capacity, we should first of all appreciate one's own life. And then secondly, to use this human intelligence in the best possible way. The best possible way doesn't just mean that you should become rich or things like that, but it is basically producing happiness and peace within oneself and in the minds of others. So the next verse that we are going to read, verse 46, will explain what I'm trying to explain here. The verse says, conceits arising is prevented by its antidote, which is the repeated contemplation of one's own non-exemption from sickness, aging, death, separation from the desirable, and subjection to one's karma. So basically, it is talking about a very simple fact, but unfortunately we tend to ignore it in our life. So it's basically saying no one is, exempted from the life's experiences like getting sick, which we have learned very well during this pandemic. And then aging. Now, in the case of sickness, there are so many types of sickness. In a way, body itself is in a way sick. Okay? Sick of negative emotions. And because of unhealthy attitude, you do not know how to live a healthy life. I'm not talking about nirvana enlightenment. Even in your day-to-day life, you are not able to live a healthy life. You are not sure what to eat. You are not sure where to go. We are really almost like a small kids, So we are a bunch of lost people in that way, right? Because the health of the mind is not that good. And then second, we all experience aging. Now, when we say aging doesn't come when you cross 60 like me, but aging comes the next moment after the birth. Aging means changing the nature of your youthfulness. So that starts from the very second moment of your birth. And the interesting kind of paradox is that that very cause, the birth, which you appreciate so much, which you celebrate by saying happy birthday, that birth itself is the cause for aging. That birth itself is the aging cause for sickness and so forth. If you are not born, you don't have to experience this. But when I say this, I'm not trying to give you a pessimistic picture. There's the other side of the story also. So we should accept both. So birth itself is the cause of aging, sickness, and death, and so forth. And then therefore, sickness, aging, and death. And in between, so many types of suffering. In the Buddhist texts, they talk about 2 types of suffering: physical suffering, mental suffering. Then 6 types of suffering, 3 types of suffering, many types. Probably we can't count the sufferings that we experience. So that is there. That is a fact. There's not a kind of fabrication. It is a fact. So to be separated from aging, sickness, and death and suffering, these are not really under our control. Just as when we were born, we did not, born or did not get into this world voluntarily, right? You did not fix the time. You did not make an appointment to somebody saying, okay, I'm going to take birth on such and such day. No, right? Although with help of science, probably with machine, you can figure out counting the days and so forth. But that is not a decision that you made. So you are born without any choice. So death will also happen without any choice. Sickness will also, you can, if you try to lead a good life, you can make some changes, but it is probably impossible, to not to get sick in one way or the other. So because that sickness is rooted in afflictive emotions, sickness is rooted in the genetic, inheritance that you got, so forth. So therefore, the reason that you experience aging, sickness, death, and so forth, that you're not free from this is because you have accumulated the causes and conditions for that. So therefore, important point is, if you want to be free from aging, sickness, death, and so forth, then you need to stop accumulating further causes and conditions for aging, death, and sickness. This is not something that you can, do away with tomorrow or next year and things like that. But you can certainly bring about great changes. And through systematic process of spiritual, evolution, it is possible to control death, because death is primarily related to your breathing. How many times you breathe, and so many techniques probably there, right? Or at least something that we can easily understand is that with proper thinking, positive way of thinking, proper process of eating the food, proper process of living, and so forth, you can definitely make this life much happier and much more peaceful. That we can easily understand. I mean, you can take the example of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Okay, don't say that he's special, he's transcendental or whatever. Don't say things like that. But whatever he may be in reality, but he is here with us as ordinary human being, right? And he is also doing all the practices, all the studies, all the meditations, things like that. And now you can see his health. You see, he's 85, but really like very healthy. And I've seen many people who just crosses 60, they become like kind of quite old, So much is dependent upon what we think, what we do in our daily life, and what we eat. Okay, so by undertaking these Buddhist practices, the ultimate aim is nirvana and enlightenment and things like that. But the step has to be taken right now so that you are able to drive that benefit directly. That's why I repeatedly tell people that Buddhism must make sense in today's world. It should not become like a mythology that once upon a time there was somebody called Buddha, he got enlightened. Once upon a time there was a great saint called Milarepa, he was able to fly, things like that. And then what about you, you know? What kind of benefit you got by practicing Buddhism? So the yardstick, the measure by which you can say you got the benefit, I sometimes even call it the miracle that you can achieve is not about how much you are able to fly. Fly, no problem, we can fly in aeroplane. Even if you can't fly, it's okay, you can fly in an aeroplane. Okay, you can travel in the sea in a boat. So there's, you know, if you are able to do that, it is, people call it a miracle, but that is, you know, in Buddhism, that is not very great. The real miracle is if you are able to reduce your negative emotions. If you used to be a very hot-tempered, angry person, then gradually, you know, by seeing the negativeness of anger, if you reduce the intensity of that anger, that is a miracle. That is how you know, in this very life, perhaps today or tomorrow, you know, you will become better, happier, healthier, much happier and healthier. If you don't have ill will, if you don't have enmity with everybody, if you have that development of understanding towards everybody, wishing peace and happiness to everybody, you know, if you see everybody, some people enjoying, just appreciate, rejoice, don't become jealous, and things like that, you know. Just by changing that attitude, you can really make miracles. And I'm not just saying this. I mean, I'm sure you have many examples of that, the benefit of doing good things. So try to bring about those examples. Make it living. Don't just read the text, you know, read it 5,000 years before or 2,000 years before. Just see it in your life. Hear the stories of those people who made miracles through good work, good motivation. There are many, not only in the Buddhist fold, but there are many in every community. So it's not so much about what religion you belong to, what community you belong to, because the heart is same, the brain is more or less same. The capacity to smile is same, right? So therefore, if we target these negative emotions like anger, hatred, jealousy, when these negative emotions are present, it doesn't matter whether it's present in the mind of a Tibetan or American or Chinese or, you know, or Afghan, as we are now having a good example right now in Afghanistan. So whoever that has a negative emotion, you know, that you know, the habit of bullying and terrorizing people, not only many other people unnecessarily suffer. They themselves, I don't think, if they are human beings, they don't think they can really enjoy, because they're just following something like a dictate of somebody or the so-called habit, so-called tradition. So therefore, you know, even with the so-called religion or tradition, you need to use your brain and mind and see if the so-called tradition or religion is relevant today or not, whether it's making sense or not. Don't blindly hold on to anything. That's Buddha's teaching. It's not that, you know, some of the enlightened beings have the capacity and we don't have the capacity. There may be difference in terms of training, but we all have that capacity. So the only thing is to make this human life meaningful. So meaningful basically means to have a life which is contented, which is satisfied. And that satisfaction and contentment will never come by killing other people. Just like last night, somebody from somewhere sent me a message, you know, asking me to give them some advice to some American soldiers, you know, who after returning from Afghanistan, they are unable to sleep, they're having a lot of traumas and problems, you know, things like that, you see. So when you engage in some, you know, killing and destruction, you know, you're a human being. So you will suffer. You will suffer. So therefore, irrespective of how long you are going to live, make each and every day meaningful. Count the blessings in a day. I myself do this. I'm not just talking. You know, I'm not a great philanthropist or, you know, Mother Teresa or anything like that. Just like you and me, we are same. But
make a lot of effort. Whenever there's a chance to talk to somebody, help somebody, I just see it as a wonderful opportunity. This lady may be looking for something which may be difficult for her, but for me, may be very easy. For example, when they come to the library, it's a place I know what is there. I have the information. They don't have the information. They are coming there to get that information. So to share that information is so easy for me. For them, it's a great thing. They just come from far off places to seek that information. So see that as a wonderful opportunity to help that person. And you will be the greatest beneficiary. And it is nothing but natural. It's nothing but natural. But contrarily, if you exploit and bully other people, you might be able to gain some temporary benefit in terms of money and things like that. And you can probably make a show of saying, "Oh, I bullied that person, or I've scolded that person. See how strong I am." You can think about that, but at the end of the day, you will regret. You see, so you should live your life in such a way so that when you are on the deathbed, there's nothing to regret. Nothing to regret. And the greatest example to learn is look around. Look around what is happening in the nature. Look around what is happening in the neighborhood. Read human life. Nature is an open book. Human life is an open book. Read from there. And I tell you a small story. I think I told you the last time also. When I sit in my veranda from the kind of window, I can see the squirrels, going up, down. And sometimes I see some other animals going up and down. So some days back, probably I shared this earlier. There was, they call it a raccoon. Yeah, raccoon. There was a raccoon mother. Whether it's mother or father, I don't know. She was that raccoon was moving up and down. Then after a few days back, she came with 2 kids. 3 of them, going through our fences, going up, going down. Things like that. And one day I found all of them, one after another, killed by dog. The whole family, you see. And then there were a lot of squirrels going up and down, jumping on the trees and things like that. And sometimes my roof is a tin roof, so they are going there and making a lot of noise, very disturbing, things like that. So yesterday and day before yesterday, there was no noise at all. I couldn't see any of the squirrel. Then my cousin told me, "Oh, probably there was one, what they call it in Hindi, we call it newly, an animal." He said that animal is going up and down. Probably the squirrels must have ran away, frightened, or must have even killed. So I don't see any of them yesterday and today. So life is like that, you see. So take that example. In the Buddhist teaching, it says, even if you see the death of a fly, then you should take that as an example. I am also similar like this. It can be any time. Don't think that I'm very special, So that is nothing to, I'm not trying to frighten you. I'm not going to get anything by frightening you, but I'm just simply telling you the fact. Because once you understand that fact, this is what this text is saying. You should think about the sickness, meaning the sickness can come anytime. So right now, if you're not sick, healthy, this is the time to do the practice. If you're sick, you may not be able to do that, right? Aging also. Now, when you are really relatively young or healthy, this is the time to practice, especially in the case of tantric practice. The tantric practice involves a lot of visualizations, So therefore, it is important to do these practices when your energy is strong, your channels are fresh and relaxed, things like that. And when you become more and more old, it becomes difficult. I'm not saying it is impossible, it becomes difficult. Not impossible, because now scientists are saying that it is not necessary that you will suffer from dementia when you get old. All the physics, they used to say that when you grow old, then you suffer from the old, people's sickness called dementia. Now they are saying, no, neuroplasticity, which is good news. In Buddhism, we have been saying this for a long time, that the more you train the mind, the more the mind becomes sharper and sharper and clear. Even when you physically, when you become old, still the mind can be very sharp, very clear. Again, His Holiness is the example, right? So therefore, there's good news, neuroplasticity. So it's important for us to continue to do this training. So therefore, he's saying that if you think about these facts of illness, aging, death, suffering, that you are subjected to this, all these things, then you need to know that these are because of my own action, my own karma. So think about this repeatedly, not just one time, repeatedly. As I said, today I'm not sick, wonderful, so I'll do all these good things. Today, both my hands are intact, so I will do some practice of giving, or at least, extend your helping hand. Today, I have my both eyes intact, so I will look at people with love and kindness. Today, I've got this beautiful teeth and mouth, so I will smile instead of frowning, scowling and things like that. So many ways you can use your body, you can use your mind to create that atmosphere of peace, happiness, around, so that people don't get frightened by seeing you. That's why Buddhas are called meaningful to behold. When somebody sees Buddha, just by seeing him, it is said that many negative emotions go away temporarily. Right? So that's how you can make your life meaningful. So he says, if you repeatedly think about this, then you will not become conceited, you will not become arrogant. The arrogance, the conceit that we show in our life is totally based on short-sightedness, narrow-mindedness, because we get puffed up thinking that I'm somebody special. Look how good my body is. Look how smooth my face is. Look how intelligent my mind is. Look how good is my English. How good is my Tibetan? How good is my Dharma? With all these little things, you get puffed up. In Tibetan, we say that it's like little bird who had eaten 2-3 grains, but the bird thinks I've eaten so much, right? So therefore, even it's not only in Buddhism, scientists, they also say that if you really think about how much you know, you hardly know anything. Hardly know anything. So therefore, as I mentioned earlier, it's important to not to go after all kind of information, just go after the right information, and then gain the right knowledge through hearing, thinking, and meditation. And then at the end of the day, you must develop that wisdom, that discernment. The wisdom is the key thing. And the more I grow older, the more I'm able to see clearly that as Shantideva said, life is short. Life is short. There are too many things to know. And we do not know the exact span of our life. Therefore, just like the swans extract milk from water, take those things which is really necessary. You see? And this teaching is so useful to me, because I read Tibetan, I read Hindi, I read English. So and then there are so many literatures, I tend to like go here, go there, And then over the years, I have collected so many books. People call my room a library, you see, so many books. But now I realize, how many books are you going to read? Is it necessary that you read all the books from cover to cover? Do you have the time? When you start thinking, then you say, oh, now is the time not to try to read all the books, but now is the time to summarize the important point. Irrespective of whether you're old or not, what is really important is whether you use the word specialization or not, it's not so important. What is important is, as I said earlier, if you are thirsty, you need to drink water, not the whole ocean, right? Not the whole ocean. So similarly, just if you really, when you read Dharma or anything, when you get some of the topics really relevant, really important, then listen to it, think about it, meditate on it, digest it, make it part of your life. So for example, if somebody says emptiness, we should be very clear about what emptiness is, right? Not just some kind of vague idea. No, the vague idea. The very reason to understand emptiness is so that with this wisdom understanding emptiness, you are able to cut the root of ignorance, and you will not be able to do that unless you have the in-depth, penetrative, precise knowledge of what emptiness is. So specialize on emptiness at least 1 week. I'm not saying your whole life, because your whole life you need to, the whole stages of the path you need, but at least focus on 2-3 days or 1 week, just emptiness. Research what is this one, how it is relevant in your life, how it is relevant in removing the ignorance, which is the root of all suffering. Then another week maybe on bodhicitta, another week on compassion. So you become a master, expert on all of these things. And the purpose of doing this is not simply for scholarship, but you are able to develop the conviction about the importance of these knowledges. And then you will be able to implement it, right? So that's really important. The more I grow older, the more I'm able to see this very, very clearly. So please do that. So that's what he's saying. Conceit arising is prevented. We all have conceit, right? Somebody says something which is a little bit distasteful, we flare up. How dare you say these things to me? How dare you say these things to me, Geshe Lhakdor? You know who am I? I'm Geshe Lhakdor. Right? So you have many. You bring up very small reasons to get puffed up. You know who you are talking to. Right? So that kind of arrogance, conceit will come up. But if you repeatedly think about the imminent illness, aging, sickness, and finally death, there's no reason to get arrogance. There's no reason to develop that conceit. And not only that, but conceit and arrogance it's a big hurdle in your life. Big hurdle. I told you earlier that a conceited, arrogant person, if you even the posture of that person, he will be like having his head high in the air and going up like this, a little bit arrogant, and then he will not listen to anybody, because he or she thinks that I'm somebody, I'm special, I know whatever that means, right? So therefore, in the Buddhist teaching, it says the humility is the key for receiving any higher knowledges. An example is given by saying that if you should look for yourself whether the beautiful green grasses and flowers grow down in the valley or on the exposed top of a mountain. They all grow down in the valley. So similarly, if you become receptive, if you become humble, you can receive the higher knowledges. You can receive the wonderful instructions. The very reason that we got 2 ears, only 1 mouth, meaning that listen more, speak less. And ordinarily, because of conceit, even if there is 2 people talking, and I see myself doing this all the time, I must confess. Then you hardly listen to other people. You just immediately just keep on talking, just as I'm doing right now. But right now it is a little bit exception because you asked me to talk. But even otherwise, you don't listen to people. So if you don't listen, if you listen to people, you will learn many things which you don't know. But you keep on talking, it may be of some benefit, but basically you will be sharing what you know, not learning anything new probably, right? So therefore, humility, receptivity is key for gaining higher knowledges. So don't be like a puffed up balloon. A fully inflated balloon, if you put water on that fully inflated balloon, the water will not stay there. So similarly, knowledge or quality of any kind will not stay in the mind of a person who is like an inflated balloon, right? So therefore he's saying, which is the repeated contemplation, repeated. In all this Buddhist practice, we need to do these practices regularly. The very meaning of meditation means getting habituated with the thing. We are not so habituated. We are habituated with anger, jealousy, hatred. we are great meditators in this field. But in the field of love, in the field of compassion, we are not habituated. So therefore get habituated. That's the meaning of meditation, that you are controlled by your mind. Your mind is predominantly controlled by negative emotions. Therefore you are suffering. Therefore now you should change that course of life, course of thinking, and make your mind more habituated with love, with compassion, with the bodhicitta, with patience and things. That is meditation. That's meditation, right? So therefore, repeatedly, remember this verse. Repeatedly, he says, repeatedly. So you need to repeatedly think about the definiteness of karma. Once you have accumulated a karma, then you'll have to experience the suffering. So what, contrarily, if you have accumulated positive karmas, again, it's definite that you will experience the positive result. So get habituated with positive ways of life. Okay. Right now, for example, as I said, you may not be suffering from any kind of obvious illness, but it can come anytime if you have accumulated the karma for experiencing those negative deeds. So with this kind of thinking, do not get puffed up, do not get conceited, okay? Even if you have some higher qualities, don't get puffed up. Just be happy that you have some knowledge, but you should think, I still have to know more. Okay, develop that humility. Now, what should we do if we have accumulated negative karmas? The way to eliminate negative karmas or negative emotions is contemplation on the worldly view and beyond worldly view, two things. So next verse is talking about the need to make effort in developing the worldly view. Worldly view. If you desire the higher realms and liberation, higher realms means the life of a human being, life of a God. Okay, so here, what we need to remember is here it says, if you desire the higher realms, like the life of a human being or a God, now you have, see, now you already obtained that higher realm, higher status. So not being able to use this precious human life, the higher status, higher realm, which you already obtained, without using it, if you simply pray for such a higher realm in the future, it's fooling yourself. So luckily, you have already obtained this precious human life, that higher realm, higher status. So appreciate that, be happy that you obtained this precious human life. As I said earlier, compare your way of life, the capacity to think with other animals. Animals, they can't talk about love, they can't talk about compassion, they can't talk about bodhicitta. We're able to do all these things, right? So there's so many things human beings can do and others can't do, right? Then in the case of negative things, animals can also do. See, again, you know, it's so interesting. Fighting, animals also do. Sex, animals also do. They're very proficient, very good in all those things. But compassion, they have a little bit of fondness to each other, basically, you know, more of attachment, because for sexual reproduction and things like that, they need to remain cohesive, things like that. Apart from that, genuine kind of unbiased loving kindness, compassion is a rare thing among animals. Bodhicitta, forget. Wisdom, understanding, emptiness, forget. Impossible for animals, but we can develop it. So that is to say that this is the time to make yourself different from animals. This is the time to think the real meaning of a human being as opposed to animals. There are many things we do which are similar like animals. So if you, like especially killing, you know, all these killings going on in the world. This is nothing like intensified animal behavior. More worse than the animals. Animals don't use sophisticated, guns or weapons. And we use it because we use this intelligence in the wrong way. So if you desire the higher realms and the liberation, now we are talking about liberation. Every country, people talk about liberation, freedom, freedom, freedom. It's so interesting, in the human life. India have been fighting for its freedom for so long, so many hundreds of years they fought for freedom, they got the freedom. There are several countries who fought for freedom, they got the freedom, the so-called political freedom. But still, the people living in the so-called countries who said to have obtained that freedom, do they really have freedom? I'm not talking so much about how they are ruled by the government. I'm talking about in their individual level. You may be living in a free country, so-called free, independent country, but because of your way of thinking, your negative emotions, you're not free. You're slave to the negative emotions, the worst kind of enslavement. When our enemies, when they torture us, imprison us, they can do that torturing and imprisonment physically, not mentally. The physical torture will have some impact on your mind, but mentally you are still, to a great extent, you are free. But when you develop negative emotions within your mind, like jealousy, anger, then you physically, mentally, you are not free there. The worst kind of imprisonment. And who does that? Yourself. Because you have the choice to do the right or the wrong, and you choose the wrong. And the result, neither you will have freedom, nor you will get that happiness in your family, nor you will be able to create that happiness in the society, in the country, and so forth. Which is so obvious. Therefore, people ask the question, if we all want happiness, do not want suffering, then why people are acting in the wrong way? Why people continue to do the same wrong thing? Then the answer is because they don't know better than that. So therefore, we need to know. We don't know. We don't know. We are kind of influenced by the environment. We run after demagogues, people who are eloquent in speaking. Then we think this is true, and without a second thought, we just run after them, and then, So therefore, you should use your independence of thinking and decide for yourself, choose for yourself the right thing, not the wrong thing. Okay? So therefore, if you desire the higher realm and the liberation, meditate upon the right way. Meditate upon the right way here means meditate basically means get yourself habituated with the right way. Right way view here means not the transcendental one, not the beyond worldly view, but the worldly view. Even in terms of worldly view, killing other people is bad. Thinking, of killing other people is wrong view. Worldly wrong view. Thinking of exploiting other people, torturing other people, this is a worldly wrong view. Right? So therefore, you should, at least to start with, for a while, if you don't want to talk about the beyond worldly view, but at least think about the worldly right view. In every case, this is nothing peculiar with Buddhism. If you read the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it says right to life, don't kill other people, don't exploit other people. All this list are there. So I urge you to read all this Universal Declaration of Human Rights and follow that. If you follow that, you're following a universally applicable, declaration, and which is, I am 100% sure, true to the spirit of Buddhist teaching also. So these are common sense. These are common sense. And then not only the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but you read the constitution of every country, How much they are implementing is a different thing, but at least in the constitution, there's a not to kill, not to steal, not to exploit. Everything is there. The so-called, secular ethics is there everywhere, right? So for the goodness, well-being, and happiness of all of us, following these universal values are imperative. It's almost like a question of life and death. So we need to know this thoroughly. I mean, how many of you know the details of Universal Declaration of Human Rights? Maybe not much, you see. So we need to go and read those things, right? So repeatedly get habituated with this right view, even in the worldly arena. We are not talking about something that is invisible, okay? Start from there. Start from there and get habituated with that. Just as we earlier also we talked, that the verse spoke about repeatedly thinking about those points. So here also it says, meditate upon the right view. Meditate means get habituated with the right view. Now, if you don't develop this good view, even good deeds by a person, sometimes even if you do something good, right? But if that so-called good thing is influenced by wrong view, all have dreadful fruition, dreadful fruition. That means the fruit will be horrible, fruit will not be good. So here when we talk about the worldly right view, we are talking about those view where the object is a conventional reality, not an ultimate reality. And if you don't meditate on that, instead if you say, do all the horrible things, the result will not be negative one. Do all the good things, there's no guarantee the result will be good. So in this way, if you develop the wrong view, and that also primarily because of your grasping and clinging to certain things, that's called wrong view, a view which is opposite to the nature and truth of the reality, right? And then even if you, for example, do some good things like practice of giving or practice of generosity or charity, that will have no positive result because of wrong view. And as a result of that, you will have to be born within the samsara and encounter many types of sufferings. Many types of sufferings, So he's saying that if you do even good things with wrong view, then that will not become a fully qualified virtuous state. Because based on those wrong views, you will have to experience intolerable sufferings and problems. So therefore, in order to achieve liberation, higher status, in order to achieve enlightenment, the first step, the first and foremost step that you should take is developing the right view, at least the worldly right view. So that's why when you read the Eighth Noble Path, when we read the 37 limbs to enlightenment, then out of the eightfold noble path, the first is right view, right? So therefore, it is really like a precursor to all of the activities. And if you have a wrong view, then the very root of virtuous deed is severed and destroyed. So right view is very important. Now, right view will come only if you properly exercise your capacity to judge and think and caution, not following anybody blindly. Even today, in the so-called scientific, technological, modern world, the blind faith is just rampant everywhere. It's so strong that science could not remove it so easily, right? So therefore, it's important not to follow something blindly. Do that in a scientific way. Scientific way means when you don't know something, don't just say bad things because you don't know. Simply say, I don't know. And you don't have to trust that also. And then caution. The more you caution, the more you will get answer. And then see how beneficial it is to oneself, to others. How beneficial it is for harmony, world peace, and things like that. Okay. As I said, if you have the wrong view, the very root of religiosity is destroyed. And there are some other texts which say it is okay if your morality declines, but it is not okay if your view declines. Of course, degeneration of morality is very bad, but it still can be restored with the right view. My teacher used to say, for those who got disrobed, monks and nuns who got disrobed, and then with regret and repentance, they go to the teacher asking for advice. Then my teacher used to say, even if you got disrobed as a monk or as a nun, but don't lose your correct view. For example, in the case of a monk, or if he or she get disrobed, I mean, it's something that is possible because of environment. We are ordinary negative emotions there with everybody. The surrounding situation is very inviting for disrobing. And the mental improper way of mental engagement is there. So all the causes and conditions are there. It's very easy to become a victim to that. Nobody goes out saying that I'm going to disrobe, intentionally. No. Right? So that possibilities are there, unfortunately. But that should not, with that you should not think that now I am disrobed, so I should do all the bad things that I could not do when I was a monk. No. Especially maintaining the correct view is very important. Okay. And then on top of that, if you want to proceed further, deeper in terms of your actualization of nirvana and liberation, then you should make yourself habituated with the beyond worldly view. Beyond worldly view. This is what is said in the next verse. Understand humans as a being in actuality miserable, impermanent, having no self, and impure. Those in whom recollection has not been well established, give heed to the four delusions, the source of ruination. Okay, I will translate it in my own way. So basically, it is saying, in the true sense of the term, human beings are not well. That's what he's saying. In the true sense of the term, human beings are not well, and because they are impermanent, they are selfless, they are impure. So therefore, you should know the impermanent nature, the selfless nature, and the impure nature. Those people who do not maintain mindfulness on this truth of impermanence, of selflessness, of not being well, which means of suffering, of impurity. When you don't maintain that mindfulness, instead, contrary to that, if you think, I'm okay, I'm fine, very well. That's what we say all the time. Are you okay? Yes, I'm very well. Okay. And then if you say, I'm going to live forever, I need to buy this car, I need to buy this building. You say, I'm going to live. So instead of thinking that you are impermanent, we tend to develop that strong grasping of staying, that means grasping to permanence. If you go and visit the old forts in India, there's so many places, especially I had my schooling in Rajasthan, So in that area, there are so many castles built during the time of the Rajputs, And here in Kangra, very near, also there is a big castle, which is now completely ruined. But if you go there, how they try to fortify themselves, during all the, fortifications, there is a hall where they can put their gun and shoot the enemy if anybody is coming up. I mean, it's really planned that they are going to live forever. Now it's all in ruins. You see? So we all have this tendency of thinking that I'm going to live. And the difficulty is, if you ask anybody, are you going to die one day? They will all say, yes, I'm going to one day. I'm going to die one day. Are you going to die tomorrow? Or today even? Today, I don't think so. There's the problem. So every day is a today, you know. So every day you are thinking, not today, not today, not today, not today. You ask this question even to somebody who is over 90. The 90-old gentleman will say, yeah, I'm very old, I'm going to die very soon, but I don't think today. Right? So we have this tendency to side with non-death, permanence. That's the problem. If you develop this strong grasping on permanence, you will not prepare for the longer journey, for long-term happiness and so forth. Right? So therefore, we need to realize that in the true sense of the time we are not well. That means suffering is there. And then second, impermanence is our feature. Selfness is our feature. Impurity is our feature. Now, suffering, we all know to some extent. But what we know is the obvious suffering, what we call a suffering of suffering, like headache, diarrhea, stomach ache. This we know. We don't even know the second level of suffering, which is called suffering of change. The suffering of suffering, it's good, you know a little bit, but animals also know that. But as a human being, we should go deeper and know the second level of suffering, which is suffering of change. And which I personally feel is very relevant, important to know in our today's life, because change, you know, impermanence, as we already read, change is changing, everything is changing so quick. There is no definiteness about who is your friend, who is your enemy. You know, there's no definiteness about the climate. So many changes are happening. Now, great global thinkers, you know, living today, they say that unless you have these inner resources, now this is very comforting for those of us who follow the Buddha's teaching, because Buddha have been saying, the Buddhist teachers have been saying that you must instill all these inner qualities. Now, the modern thinkers, they are not Buddhists, they are thinkers, right? So they are saying that unless you equip yourself with all these inner qualities, you will not be able to cope the speed of change that we are already experiencing, and we are going to experience that much, much quicker and more in the next decades or centuries. You will die of shock. You will lose your job. You know, or everything can happen. So then where are you going to turn to? Unless you have these inner resources. If you have these inner resources, then the external change will not bother you. Just like Milarepa, you know, something like that. Okay. So therefore, he's saying that instead of understanding these four realities of not well, impermanence, selfless, impurity, we, on the contrary, develop the four wrong views of being well, being permanent, having a self, and having being pure. Now, for example, impermanence, I don't really have to explain much. Impermanence means change. With the change, with impermanence, there are grosser level of impermanence, a subtle level of impermanence. The grosser levels of impermanence, even with your eyes, you can see. For example, you can see the damages done to a building, the building collapsing, the bridges falling during the rainy season. This is grosser impermanence, which you can see. The death of your friend, lying his body there, you can see. This grosser level of changes are happening because underneath there is subtle level of change which is happening. So when you go to the very subtle level of change, as I said earlier, everything is in a flux, And the change is so quick, so fast. That's why the Buddha said you cannot step into the same water twice. Contrarily, we have this, mode of grasping. Therefore, we say, "Oh, I went there to Baksanag to wash." Then I can say, "Oh, I went to the same river." The Buddha intentionally called one guy. Asked him, "Where did you go to wash?" And this guy said, "I went to that same river where I used to wash." The Buddha said, "No, there's no same river. You cannot, step into the same river twice. It flows." It's a wonderful example. It's a wonderful example, right? So therefore, we need to maintain our mindfulness about not being well, okay, about impermanence, selflessness. The self that we are talking about is a conventional existence, but not independent existence. Here also we tend to think, just with anything else, we tend to see the self as having inherent independent existence. Then impurity. In Buddhism, we talk about our body made of 34 filthy substances. The blood, the urine, the mucus, and all those things, So that is not to denigrate our body. That's not saying that you are bad or anything like that. What it is saying is, unless this body itself is very fragile, full of filthy substances. But if you use the body, if you look at the nature of the body, there's nothing so much to admire about. So it is really the mind that has this great potential to even develop Bodhicitta, to even become Buddha. But look at our way of life. We look after only our body, this filthy body, and not about our mind. So therefore, the Buddhist teaching is saying that, look, if you want to take care of yourself, take care of your mind. Because out of the body and the mind is the one which is your really boss, which controls your life, which is the real source of happiness and suffering. And not only that, when you really, train and nurture and cultivate this mind, I prefer using this word cultivation, If the exact translation of the English word meditation in Hindi is called bhavana. Kamala Shila's text is called bhavana karma. So bhavana basically means cultivation. It is explained in terms of how the farmers in those days cultivate the land, by removing the weeds and putting the proper moisture or heat or proper seed and whatever. So similarly, we have to nurture and cultivate our body, our mind. So therefore, the most important thing that we need to do is distance yourself from these wrong views. Because if you follow these wrong views, then result will be disruption. The result will be ruination. Try. You can try, follow, and say that I'm permanent. You can practice. I'm permanent. I'm not going to get sick. Okay. Then I'm pure. In terms of your body, if you say I'm pure, don't wash your body for weeks, for months. Then it will reveal its color, how pure the body is. Things like that, right? So, right. And then the question of self. What is self? We tend to think, I've been there before, I will be here, I'm here right now, I'll be there in the future, I'll do this, I'll do that. Where is this I? It's basically a mental projection related to the psychophysical, related to the psychophysical aggregate. It's just a projection, right? The Western thinkers, philosophers, they term the I, the slippery notion. You'll never be able to catch it. Fluid, a fluid notion. But that's the way it is. Things work merely on the basis of designation, merely on the conventional names and terms. Apart from the conventional names and terms, if you try to, find out the reality, the so-called reality from somewhere, you will never be able to find it. That is true with everything. Like, for example, this hand, I call this my hand. If I remove all the fingers, remove the palm, where is the hand? So when all this come together, we give a designation called hand. That designation is important because we need to communicate to each other. If you don't give any designation, if you don't give any term, how are you going to communicate to each other? So it's simply for communication, right? Apart from that, there's nothing having objective independent existence, especially with reference to the I, because that I, the clinging to I is source, is the real root of samsara. Not just seeing the book having independent existence, that is also wrong. But the real problem comes when you see yourself as having independent existence. So that is called misconception of reality. That is ignorance, right? So therefore, understand the true reality and don't go in the wrong way. So in other words, it is saying that human beings are not at all well, but we may not know it because right now we are not using wisdom to know that. So therefore, he's saying if you use your wisdom, and then you will find that you are endowed with these three types of suffering: suffering of change, which I explained a little bit, suffering of change, and then the basic, the foundation of these two suffering is conditioned suffering. That your psychophysical aggregate itself is subjected to negative emotions and contaminated actions. So therefore, when we talk about liberation, it primarily means liberation from this conditioned existence, not just from liberation from obvious suffering, not even from conditioned suffering. Sorry, not even from the suffering of change, but get liberation from conditioned suffering. All right? So therefore, if you use your wisdom and see, then you will see the three sufferings. And thereby you will be able to know, yes, things are not good. There is suffering, there is a problem. Whether you are experiencing acute problem right now or not, but the problem is there. Problem is there. So therefore, not maintaining mindfulness means not examining things through wisdom. So in other words, this verse is telling us to find out the causes, to develop a feeling of being disheartened. Right? If you are not a little bit disheartened, understand the suffering, you will not be able to develop that spirit of renunciation. Okay. So therefore, through this way, you should know the perverted or wrong conception, wrong mental attitude, and wrong view. So therefore, do research, undertake analytical meditation. And ordinarily, in other words, it is saying that ordinarily, we just follow the so-called social norms. We don't caution. Majority of us don't ask the question, don't ask the right question. We just follow the so-called social norms. We just follow the level of appearance. We run after appearance. We have no time to wait and look for the reality. Whether it's shopping, go for the appearance. How beautiful the package is. Inside, the fruit juice may be rotten or whatever, but we have no time to check it. Appearance, marriage, appearance. And appearances are deceptive. It may be true, maybe not true. I'm not a great researcher, but sometimes I'm tempted to think, like, for example, the more beautiful something is, the more you need to be very careful. I saw many poisonous trees plants, they have especially beautiful flowers, right? So appearances are deceptive. So bridge the gap between appearances and reality. Don't run after appearances. Take time, whether it's your marriage, whether it's shopping, take time and get the real thing, the real stuff, as we say. That's important. Okay? Time flies. So we have to stop here. If you have some questions, please ask.
So this is Chinam Vishnu. Thank you.
Hmm.
Natasha, please do ask your questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Geshe. The first question we have is from Irina. She says that oftentimes in the morning I get up and I feel fear. This is kind of a fear of life, of samsara, of difficulties, different difficulties. And all the changes, they scare me so much. I understand that this is the grasping to my eye, to the permanence, and I do my practices and it helps and I get normal. But and this happens for many years actually now. But next morning I still feel this fear. I try to rely on the words of His Holiness about the, this wish to become bodhisattva, and it helps. But again, next morning, everything begins again. So why did this fear become my constant companion? Why my mind is stuck in this fear? Could you please help me with this?
For any problem, there is not just one solution. There may be many solutions. So it is to be seen as a case by case. So sometimes it may be one's physical element or structure by which people do get different sensitivities and different emotional experiences. So that is something there in their body. So no need to pay too much attention. And in some cases, you need to change your diet also sometimes. Okay. Then another thing is, if you have some choice, some control, then you need to think that just developing fear towards every possible thing that is going to come, that fear is not the solution. So we need to do something which will help you, which will soothe your fear or suffering or problem. Okay, so look for the solution, not just develop fear. Because fear, constant development of fear will make your mind numb. Or in other words, as the Buddha has said, that we develop this fear because we keep on running after what is impermanent, as I already. Change means impermanence. So if you keep on running after what is impermanent, what is fragile, what is changing, it's bound to develop fear. So therefore, go for those things which is unchanging. Go for those things which is unchanging. This is actually, I'm quoting from the Bodhisattva, Thome Sangbo's 37 Bodhisattva practices, where he says, thing that never changes is liberation, nirvana. Right? In other words, if you don't understand what is unchanging, at least go for those things which is more reliable, more durable. Go for those things. Right? And then one has to be, practical in one's life. There are problems that you can solve, the problems that you can't solve. There are things that you can reach, there are things you can't reach. So one has to know one's capacity. Sometimes people are advised by saying, oh, you have every capacity, go for everything. Yeah. Maybe you have that capacity, but it's not so simple to say things like that, you see. So therefore, even in worldly activities, you need to make sure that it is not enough that something is good and lofty, but you should see whether you will really be able to go there, reach there. Like, for example, if I say I'm going to become prime minister, forget about other things, Indian prime minister, I need so many things, it's almost an impossible task, right? So the basic possibility may be there, but there are certain things you can reach, certain things you cannot reach. Okay, so you need to find your limitations also. Then what is even more important is you think more about the good things that you have, not about the bad things that is going to come. That you are a human being. Don't think about death will coming tomorrow. You're not dead right now. Right? Flood will come tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow we'll see, but right now there is no flood. Why are you worried about all those things which is not there? So uh, prepare for the worst, but do the best that you can do right now, instead of getting lost in all the possible negative things that might come in the future. Might come, there's no definiteness. Okay.
Thank you very much, Geshe. Can we ask 2 more questions? Do we have time?
Yeah.
Okay, the next question is from Marina. She says, I know that the aspiration to have love towards all the sentient beings is our main goal, and that we need to cultivate this kind of love. But recently I understood that I don't understand what is love, and I don't feel love towards myself. And if I don't feel love towards myself, how can I love other beings? So what is it, the real love, the true love?
The true love means unconditional love. Unconditional love means thinking how nice if all people meet with happiness. That's called love, loving kindness. How nice if all people meet with happiness. Not people, all sentient beings. How nice if all sentient beings meet with happiness. That is genuine love. Yes, you're right. In order to develop genuine love towards others, you should also love yourself. In order to develop compassion to others, you should also develop compassion to yourself. Okay? So when we talk about developing love to others, we are not saying that you should not love yourself. You must love yourself. Because you want happiness and do not want suffering. Just as others want happiness, do not want suffering, therefore you should love them, you should have compassion. Similarly, you are also one of those sentient beings. And in fact, if you are somebody who really wants to love everybody, really wants to have compassion toward others, then you become a really important person. And you will be able to do that, do those good things only if you love yourself, only if you are compassionate to yourself, only if you take care of yourself. So that's why the famous kind of statement that we make is, I love myself because I love you. You love yourself because you love me. There's the formula. There's formula. And I have experienced it in my life. In my life. So loving really doesn't mean just sending money and things like that, but really taking good care of yourself. For example, I said I have experienced this in my life. For example, I was in the school for until the 11th class. I was in the ordinary Tibetan refugee school. Then after that, I joined the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, studying Buddhist philosophy for 13 years. Then after that, I went to work in Tibet House in Delhi for 2.5 years. Then after that, I was invited to work in His Holiness office. I worked with His Holiness for 16 years. So in this way, I was working everywhere, studying, working. No time to make money, anything like that. No time to make the so-called development in the ordinary sense. So I had wondered, I've been spending my life in this way. I'm not able to take care of my parents, help them, things like that. I used to think like that. Then on a second, thinking, I felt, yes, I'm doing pretty well because I could not take care of them, but they never had to take care of me. Because I took good care of myself, not necessarily because I'm intelligent, but I'm in this wonderful situation, of studying Dharma with His Holiness, So my relatives and parents, even though I'm not sending any money, they are very happy that Lhakdor is doing okay. We don't have to worry about him, you see. So by taking very good care of myself, I was actually taking care of them. Now today I find that all of my family members, relatives, they all look towards me. for guidance, for help, things like that. I'm able to do that, you see. So therefore, loving oneself is very important. And especially, you have that, you're that very unique human being in this whole globe, in this whole world. There is only one you. Only one you, which means you have unique potential, unique capacity, which no one has. So explore that. Use that unique capacity. Take care of that. Yes, there may be differences in terms of having no financial support, things like that, but don't count the, curses, but count the blessings. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, Gisela, and the last question from Dinara. It's a practical question. She says that on the last session you mentioned the importance of concentration, and this is the problem for me: how to learn how to concentrate. Because when I sit down to make my do my practice with the intention not to get distracted, but at some point, I just see that my mind goes away. I catch up myself. I return my mind to the practice, but this happens again and again. It's a kind of a ping pong. Maybe I do lack motivation. What can I do to learn to concentrate myself?
No, this is not something peculiar, unique to you. It is with everybody who tries to do meditation. That the good thing or bad thing is most of us don't do meditate, so we don't have any of those understandings. But you have started meditating, therefore you are able to see these loopholes. All of us have that. And I might have told you, some of you have heard this earlier, somebody, came to me and told me that before I meditated, I was a nice person. After I meditated, I became a bad person. You see? So that happens. That happens because before you meditate, you have no idea who is coming, who is going in your mind. Your mind is like an open door, which is no sentinels, no guards around. Thieves come and loot and take away all your fortunes, virtues, and go away. You have no idea. Now through meditation, you have at least put some guard, maintain some alertness, and you've started seeing who is coming and who's going. Then, true to your nature, you've seen all the bad things coming, not so much good things. So that is very important to notice. So now you have to tell. Now the second step is, now you have to say, no, not you, please don't come. Anger coming, oh, no, not you. You came many times and destroyed me, made me unhappy, don't come. Now I don't want to, work with you. Okay, then invite compassion, invite love. That's the way. Then again, we cannot make a dramatic change in 1 day or 2 days or even in a month, because our mind is habituated with the negative ways of life, negative ways of thinking, not so much with the positive ways of thinking, but with the repeated attempt, you can change. That's 100% sure you can change. Right? So there's no reason to think that your mind is particularly like, unobedient or distracted and things like that. That is something which is there with all of us. With repeated meditation and focus, we can definitely make progress and change. And gradually you will be able to focus more on the good things, not so much on the bad things. That is the benefit, that is the process. So concentration does not mean that you are able to make your mind stay on the one object forever. No. In the initial stage, yes, you need to make sure that your mind is able to stay on a certain object, things like that. But the purpose of that, one point in meditation, is so that gradually you are able to focus on good things, good activities. Not just letting your mind stay on one object without moving. I'll tell you this amazing story happened, I think, around the Buddha's time. There was a very good Indian meditator by the name Udrak. It is said that his concentration is so powerful that he can stay in that one-pointed concentration for days and months on end. He's completely lost into it. And it is said, I hope there's not much exaggeration. He said that he used to get lost in that one-pointed concentration so much that his hairs grew long, flowing down to the floor. And the cave where he was meditating probably was infested with rats. So the rats started chewing the ends of his hair, which is flowing on the ground. Still, he is completely oblivious. But gradually, when we woke up or stood up from that meditation, he saw that the end of his hairs had been chopped up by the rats. He grew mad. He became angry. So the point the point that I'm making is simply able to, remain one-pointed is not the target. The target is that gradually you're able to concentrate on doing good things, concentrate on benefiting others. That's the purpose. Okay.
Okay, Kishla, we have one last question from Nili. Hi, Nili. I sent you a mute request. Okay.
There is a phrase saying that you always need two for tango dancing. Like you need two people. And the question is, if you are really confronted, with the other person or the other side, which is really very powerful, what can you do? I mean, let's take, for example, very, a recent example. Let's take the Afghan women now, confronting this horrible Taliban terrorists, that they will avoid them doing anything, going to school, all these girls, and doing anything. So what can they do besides, just giving up, going home and close the door? My question is, that how can you really create a very peaceful, positive, really situation where the other side is basically very powerful, which makes you feel that it's really hopeless,
So that's why the one thing that I'm saying is there is no quick fix solution for any problem. So therefore, many of the problems like the Afghan situation is something that we cannot solve overnight. But these problems, I believe, are there because of our ignoring the possibilities of such, problems much before. I don't know, much before means when, I don't know, right? So if we don't educate the world population properly, we'll continue to see such problems because human beings are basically have this animal nature. So when we talk about meditation and things like that, we are talking about transforming that animal nature. So which is really very much related to global consciousness, global education, so that at least in the future, even if we are unable to completely eradicate, we will be able to eliminate it, right? For example, there are many bad elements that there are in many countries, the whole country engaging in many suicidal, negative things. But at least there are other countries who are voicing their concern, who are talking about democracy, who are talking about human rights, things like that. So still, I think the world is not dead, right? So now, unless we all support this good movement, democracy, or whatever we name it, unless we support, strengthen those, especially in the minds of the younger generation, these things will happen all the time, right? But then, for them also, no, I'm not a politician, okay? But my little understanding, if I'm wrong, just correct me because I watch news also, okay? So there are many loopholes. I'm not going to talk about it, okay? The American going away, the American going away, then more than 300,000 troops, well trained for 20 years. How is it that they're not able to defend and just in 10 days Taliban came so easily. There are so many, unquestioned things, unquestioned, unanswered questions are there, right? Anyway, now the fact of the matter is they've already come. Now still there are many people, even under such dangerous situation, coming over with their ordinary flag, and they're trying to defend what they think is right. That is there. That is there. Then the whole question of how are they going to govern this country? Whatever name they use, if they do anything against the human nature, sooner or later, the problem will be there, right? So yes, it is said to say that we have no magic wand to solve all this problem at one go, but there is, unless we try for the good thing, unless we defend the good thing, there is no other solution. Like for example, when they face many of these problems, the women's or whatever, many of them are escaping to India and other places. At least there are countries where they can seek refuge and get help, things like that. So we need to, irrespective of whatever is happening, we need to create places and people where people in trouble can come and seek the solace and help, things like that. But you're right, Neely, it's a problem that we can't just say that through this way we can just make it go away.
But maybe we can make it a bit softer, and I'll just make the I will make the question harder. But if we say also, and we agree, there is no question about that basically the physical world, at least, is impermanent. I mean, we can see building falls down in Haiti, and the books are burned in California and whatever. So the question is, if really we are aware of this phenomena, that things are impermanent, why is it important for us at all to make sure that what we do is meaningful, is with good motivation and all of this? Because anyway, I mean, why do we have to care about the writings we do, the buildings we do, the food? Anyway, it's going to be digested. I'm cynical. I mean, I'm really asking. I'm debating with myself. So if we get this notion of impermanent, maybe our life will be.
Yeah. So this is a good question. This is a good question. So I will first ask you to start experimenting that. Now that you have known it's impermanent, don't eat from tomorrow onwards. Stop eating. Stop eating. Stop talking.
No, Lhakdor.
So my point is, impermanent doesn't mean you are not going to live. Impermanent, even death doesn't mean that is the end of the story. Impermanent is simply like water. It's change. It's changing, but the flow is there all the time. So we need to take care of that flow.
No, I'm not talking about starving. But what does it matter if the food tastes good, not good? Anyway, it will go. I mean, this is the question. Or if we are, I don't know, writing a book, or if we do anything we do for the benefit of of humankind. Anyway, it will disappear if we want or not. So why do we have to fight for the qualities and
there are many ways of answering. One is, we may be talking about disappearing one day, but you are alive right now. Others are alive right now. They want happiness. So therefore we need to take care of others. We need to take care of oneself, things like that. It's not so much about one day it will go. There's one way of answering. Another way of answering is, as I said, that change does not mean that there's no good or no bad, that there's no happiness, there's no suffering. We are not saying that. Okay? And by thinking that one day will go, therefore there's no point living, and if you commit suicide, many people do that. I mean, not many, but some people do that. But again, that is not the solution. Because by just killing your body, you're not going to kill yourself. The spirit, the consciousness, will experience happiness and suffering even after the body is gone. So the consciousness will continue, you see. So therefore, we need to have a process of, cultivating that happiness and peace, which is good today and which is good for others, which is good for a long time to come. So therefore, here you need to think a little bit about the conventional truth and the ultimate truth. Ultimately, there's nothing having independent existence, but that doesn't mean things don't exist. Things exist. Therefore, we need to take care of it. Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, not easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, no, I will have now for a few weeks to think about it again. No,
Okay.
great. I really appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Kishila. Thank you, Neeli, for your question. And I do agree with you. We have a lot to think about over the next few weeks, or over the days that remain of our lives. So thank you so much, Kishila, for such a wonderful teaching, and for such wonderful teachings every week, Kishila. I hope your teachings stay with us. I hope we absorb all the wonderful wise words and the teachings, and I hope we reflect them through our actions and our words and our thoughts. So thank you so much, Kishila. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you.
And we'll go to the prayers. Kishila, please do the prayers. Thank you.
Kyunji Mago Gundogar, the Saji Ulaji, Tuji Chinji Dolas, Cherry Sigla, so the Omanipime home, Omanipime, Thank you.